Good morning everyone. This is SMD Mazharul Haq, Assistant Professor, Tripoli Department, ISN Engineering College. I am dealing the subject Electrical Measurements and Instrumentation. And in this electrical measurement and instrumentation subject, we are having a topic called Maxwell's Inductance Capacitance Bridge and Anderson's Bridge. And today the topic is about how to find out the inductance by Maxwell's Inductance Capacitance Bridge as well as by the Anderson's Bridge. So in the previous class we have seen about how the bridges work and what are the principle of working of the bridges and how to find out the unknown values we have seen in the last class. So in the similar way we will be having one equation that is called as a balance equation, and through the balance equation we will be having some the voltages or the impedances in the particular arms, and that product is equals to the product in the opposite arms, and we will find out how these things are working out for all these bridges, AC bridges in particular. So let's see what is a Maxwell's inductance capacitance bridge. In this type of bridges, the unknown resistance is measured with the help of a standard variable capacitance. Students, the capacitance is a standard variable capacitance, and by these capacitance we are able to measure the unknown resistance. And the connection diagram of the Maxwell bridge is shown in the figure below. So if you see here, you are having the inductance L1 as well as R1, R2, R3, and here that is R4 and C4 are in parallel to each other. In this arm, this particular arm DC is having resistor and capacitor in parallel, and here we are having R3 and we are having R1 in this arm and R2 in this arm. As usual, the detector is placed, that is a vibration galvanometer, or it can be a vibration galvanometer, it can be a headphone, or it can be a this is a galvanometer, that is a vibration galvanometer also can be used here, and headphones also can be used. And depending upon the type of we are having the null detector, we will be applying any of the null detector here. So here the voltages E1, E2, E3, E4 are respectively the voltages that are being placed at this particular arms AB, BC, CD and DA respectively. So if you want to find out the particular value, you have to write the balance equations for this. And first of all, let us start like this. Let N1 is the unknown inductance of the resistance R1. So in the figure, L1 is the unknown inductance what you are going to find out, that is given in the blue color here, and in the blue color if you are, there is a quantity that is to be found out. Now let one is L1 is equals to unknown inductance of resistance R1. R1 is the variable inductance of fixed resistance R1. So R2, R3 and R4 are the variable resistance connected in series with inductor L2. So you can see here the inductor L2 is also there, where you are having this particular things R1, R2 and R3 are connected. So for the balancing equation, C4 is a known non-inductive resistance. It is a known non-inductive resistance. For balance conditions, we write here by separating the real and imaginary equations, we get R1 plus j omega L1, that is the first term, R1 plus j omega L1 into R4 plus 1 plus R4 by 1 plus j omega C4 R4 is equals to R2 R3. Is equals to R2 R3 means here we are having this R2 R3 as the resistances in the opposite arms. You can see here these are the opposite arms, and R2 R3 are the resistances. Okay, these we are writing here by the balance equation Z1 Z3 is equal to Z2 Z4. Now here R1 plus j omega L1 into R4 by 1 plus j omega C4 R4 is equals to R2 R3. So here by multiplying this thing and removing these brackets, R1 R4 is equals to j omega L1 R4 is equals to R2 into R3 plus j into omega C4 R4 R2 R3. Like this you are having this particular thing and getting the R1 is equals to R2 R3 by R4. So here R1 R4 is equals to R2 R3 as we know here. Therefore L1 is equals to R2 R3 into C4, R2 R3 into C4. Why? Because in the place of R1 we are writing L1 here, and R2 R3 C4 is given here. Therefore R1 is equals to R2 R3 by R4 and L1 is equals to R2 R3 C4. So here by comparison on both sides we are getting these values. So R1 is equals to R2 R3 by R4, the first part here, and here again L1 if you want to find out, L1 is equals to compared to this side. the imaginary part, j omega C4 R4 R2 R3. What we get here is we will be having here omega L1 is cancelled, omega is cancelled, j omega is cancelled here, and we will be having L1 is equals to R4 also gets cancelled, R2 R3 C4. L1 is equals to R2 R3 C4 will be the inductance value, and R1 will be R2 R3 by R4. So by capacitance we are knowing the inductance here. C4 is the capacitance and we are knowing the inductance here. So it is called as Maxwell's inductance bridge. It is called as the Maxwell's inductance bridge. So it is also called as Maxwell's inductance capacitance bridge because we are using the capacitance in this method to find out the inductance. So it is also called as Maxwell's inductance capacitance bridge. Now we will come to another form of bridge, that is called as the Anderson's bridge. So Anderson's bridge, what is the Anderson bridge means? Here the Anderson has started this particular bridge to find out the accurate measurement of the self-inductance. So students, we will be now discussing about the self-inductance here. What is the self-inductance means? A self-inductance is different from the mutual inductance as we have studied. It does not require any second part. Only the inductance will be developed in the same coil. In the same coil, if it is the inductance is developed, that is called as the self-inductance, and therefore the self-inductance of the circuit is measured by the Anderson bridge. So the bridge is the advanced form of the Maxwell's inductance capacitance bridge. Advanced form means in this advanced form, the Maxwell's inductance capacitance bridge is able to measure the inductance with the help of the capacitance. Now let us see how the Anderson's bridge will work depending upon these given parameters, and how to evaluate the inductance or self-inductance of the Anderson's bridge by using Anderson's bridge. In Anderson's bridge, the unknown inductance is compared with the standard fixed capacitance. So here you have to note the point that the inductance, the unknown inductance is compared with the standard fixed capacitance. A standard fixed capacitance is being used for finding out the unknown inductance, which is connected between the two arms of the bridge. So we are having two arms of the bridge here. In these two arms of the bridge, one type of standard capacitance is fixed, and by seeing that capacitance, we are able to find out the inductance here. Unknown inductance is found out. So we will see here what are the requirements of the constructions of Anderson's bridge. The bridge has four arms AB, BC, CD and AD. So how many arms the bridge has? It has four arms. So the four arms are there, and the arm AB consists unknown inductance. The first arm contains the unknown inductance with resistance in series, and the other three arms consist of the purely resistive arms. So these three arms consist of purely resistive arms connected in series with the circuit. So we are able to see this thing, that is AB, BC and CD and AD. AB, BC, CD and AD are the arms, and AB is having the unknown inductance with resistance along with it, and other three arms are consisting of the purely resistive arms connected in series with the circuit. So we have got the picture of this particular thing, where we can see that in the Anderson's bridge, here it is a detector placed, and as shown in the figure, the capacitance is placed between two arms. These are two arms, that is BC and CD. In these two arms, in between two arms, it is placed the capacitance, and here we are having a variable resistance that is placed between the detector as well as this particular point D here. So we can able to differentiate here this L1 as well as R1 and R3, R4 and R2. So here there are inductances as well as capacitances, and now we will find out the particular thing here. So let us see that E1, E2, E3 and E4 are the voltages that are being used to find out the balance conditions, and by these balance conditions we are able to find out the unknown capacitance and unknown inductance also. So first of all, we have to know that what current is flowing through the inductance here and what current is flowing through the capacitance. If we found out the currents in the inductances and capacitances, then we can find out the particular thing that we required, that is the unknown value of the inductance. So we can also find out the other values by just balancing the condition. The static capacitor and the variable resistor are connected in series and placed in parallel with CD arm. If you see the figure here, the static capacitor and the variable resistor, this is the variable resistor, this is the static capacitor. The static capacitor and variable resistor are connected in series and in parallel and placed in parallel with the CD arm. So here is the CD arm, this is the CD arm, and this is parallel. This is parallel, both are parallel to each other here. So we will see that the voltage source is applied from terminal AC, and therefore the current flows through the arms C and D. So you can see here this particular here the current flows here, and although this through the capacitance, through the resistance also it flows, and therefore we can find out the current. So next is phasor diagram. The phasor diagram of the Anderson bridge is shown in the figure below. The current I1 and the voltage E3 are in phase and represent on the horizontal axis. When this bridge is in balance condition, the voltage across arm BC and EC are equal. So you can see here the arms BC and EC are shown. This is BC. Where is the arm BC here? So you can see here BC and the EC arm both are having same voltages. When the bridge is balanced, when both are having BC and EC are having same voltages. So in the balance condition, so we can see that if they are both are equal, then what we can write here is the phasor diagram of this particular thing. That is, you can have this particular IC and ICR, as well as we can have I1 into R1 plus R1, that is the first arm resistance and current. So all we are having the linear characteristics here. I2 is also linear characteristic and E1 is also seen here. Therefore E3 is also there. So we can find out E2, and therefore we are having E4 on this side. So E4, when we were drawing this phasor diagram, E4 is considered as I4 into R4. So the currents I4 R4 makes E4 here, and E2 is equals to I2 R2 is nothing but the current, that is I2 current and R2 resistance makes this E2, and therefore what we have these remaining is we will have this E1. So this is E1, where we are having at the top level E1, E2, E3 and E4 are the phasors, and we are having this particular phasor diagrams with their respective current and resistance products. And here, as the E1 having the capacitor, inductor with it, we are having I1 into omega L1. As this E3 is having the capacitor in it, we are having E3 is equals to IC by omega C. So if you are having the resistances, we can apply Ohm's law. If you are having inductance and capacitances, for the respective voltages E1 and E3, the formula differs because the Ohm's law is not applicable here, and here we will write as the E is equals to I by omega C, or Z also you can write. So omega C is nothing but the impedance, and here omega L1 is the impedance here. So we can write this voltage is equals to IC by omega C, and E is equals to I1 omega L1, and for resistances we can write E2 is equals to I2 R2 and E4 is equals to I4 R4, because they are purely resistive. E2 and E4 are purely resistive, whereas E1 and E3 are having the inductances and capacitances respectively. Now the current enters into the bridge is divided into two parts, that is I1 and I2. First of all, the I1 is entered into the arm AB and causes the voltage drop I1 into R1 plus R, so which is in phase with the I1. As the bridge is in balance condition, the same current is passed through arms BC and EC also. So here the currents enter into the bridge is divided into two parts, as you've seen that I1 and I2 are the currents flowing. The I1 is entered into arm AB and causes the voltage drop I1 into R1 plus R, which is in phase with the I1. As the bridge is in the balance condition, the same current is passed through arms BC and EC. Now the voltage drop E4 is equal to the sum of IC by omega C and ICR. So you can see in the phasor diagram we have already mentioned how the E4 is varying and how the value of the E4 is given IC by omega C, and therefore the current I4 and the voltage E4 in the same phase, and therefore they are representing on the same line of phasor diagram, and the sum of current of IC and I4 will give rise to the current I2 in the arm AD. So we can see that I2 is equals to IC plus I4. I2 is equals to IC plus I4. If you see here particularly, I2 is equals to IC plus I4. So this is IC and this is I4. Therefore I2 is this current where it is branching out, and it is shown that I2 is equals to IC plus I4. So it is helpful for us in calculations where we require the calculations of balancing conditions, and therefore we see that here how the formulas are being written for these balancing conditions, and therefore we will find out how this particular currents are flowing, and in these arms the same current is passed through the arms BC and EC here. So this is a phasor diagram. With the help of the phasor diagram we have drawn here all these things, that is how the current is flowing and what current is the equal to the sum of the IC and I4 we have seen here now. So students, now we are ready with the I2 and I4 current, I3 and I1 currents, and we know the impedances also. So the balance condition is Z1 Z3 is equal to Z4. By writing this balance equation and combining the real and imaginary parts, you will get the unknown values. So we will see that here, when the bridge is at balance condition, the EMF across the arm AB and the point AD and E are equal. So here the 3 points A, D, E are having EMF across arm AB and the point A, D, E are equal. The phasor sum of the voltage across the arms AC and DE will give rise to the voltage drop across the arm AB. So the phasor sum of voltage across the arms AC and DE will give rise to the voltage drop across the arm AB. So we are also calculating the voltages. So please write this voltage drop across AB is given as the phasor sum of the voltage across arms AC and DE. Now the V1 is also obtained by adding I1 into R1 plus R1 small r1 with the voltage drop omega into I1 L1 in the arm AB. The first arm we can find out the voltage, and the phasor sum of E1 and E3 or E2 and E4 will give rise to the supply voltage, because in the balance condition we are having here, and therefore E1, E3 or E2 or E4, E1 and E3 or E2 and E4 will give the supply voltage to us. So in the circuit, I1 is equals to I3 and I2 is equals to IC plus I4. Therefore I1 into R3 is equals to IC into 1 by j omega C. So we have here I1 into R3 is equals to IC into 1 by j omega C here. So IC is equals to I1 into omega C R3, and therefore the other balance condition equations can be represented as I1 into R1 plus capital R1 plus j omega L1 is equals to I2 into R2 plus IC into R. So if you have this equation, this particular balance condition equation, I1 into R1 plus capital R1 plus j omega L1 is equals to I2 into R plus IC into R. So students, here what is understood here is IC is taken common. IC is taken common, and we have the equation R plus 1 by j omega C. If you remove the IC common, we have R plus 1 by j omega C, and that is equals to I2 minus IC into R4. I2 minus IC into R4. Therefore, you can write here the balance condition as IC into R1 plus R plus 1 by j omega C is equals to I2 minus IC into R4. By substituting the value of IC in the above equation, that is given, IC is equals to I1 into omega C R3 here, what we get we will see now. On equating these both the equations, I1 into R1 plus capital R1 plus j omega L1 minus j omega into CR3 into R is equals to I1 into R1 R2 by R3 plus j omega CR3 into R2 by R4 plus j omega CR3 into R2. Like this, what we are doing is all we are substituting the values here, and we are getting the equation by equating the real and imaginary parts. R1 is equals to R1 R3 by R4 minus R1. So what we got here, R1 is equals to R1 R3 by R4 minus R1, and therefore we want to find out the inductance L1. L1 is equals to C into R3 by R4 into 4 into R4 plus R2 plus R2 R4. Therefore we will see here that the inductance is being found out by equating the real and imaginary parts. So here we are writing this inductance value is equals to L1 is equal to C into R3 by R4 into 4 into R4 plus R2 plus R2 R4 is the inductance value. So it is found out by the inductance bridge here. By inductance bridge, we can even simplify this by opening the brackets, as we can open the brackets here and some terms gets cancelled, and therefore we found out the value of inductances. Now we will see what are the advantages of Anderson's bridge. The following are the advantages of Anderson's bridge. The advantages of Anderson's bridge. The following are the advantages of the Anderson's bridge here. So we have seen that the advantages of Anderson's bridge are here given that the balance point is easily obtained on the Anderson bridge and compared to the Maxwell's inductance capacitance bridge. and the bridge uses fixed capacitor, because of which accurate reading is obtained. So the fixed capacitor always gives you the accurate readings, and therefore the fixed capacitor is being used in the Anderson bridge, whereas in the Maxwell inductance capacitance bridge we are not using a fixed capacitor. And also the bridge measures the accurate capacitances in terms of the inductances. Here the bridge measures the accurate capacitances in terms of inductances. If you want inductance, we are having the accurate capacitances and variable capacitance there, and therefore if you want to measure capacitance, we can measure in terms of the inductances there. And the disadvantages of Anderson's bridge. Let us now see the disadvantages of the Anderson bridge. The main disadvantages of Anderson's bridge are as follow. The circuit has more arms, which make it more complex as compared to Maxwell's bridge, because we see that students there the Maxwell's bridge is having a less number of arms, but Anderson bridge is having more number of arms. It looks complex while solving the equations. The equation of bridge is also more complex. Is more complex here, and therefore the bridge is also complex as well as the equations are also very complex. So the bridge has an additional junction which arises the difficulty in shielding the bridge. So here an additional junction also available, that is we are having the capacitance as well as the resistances here. So it looks somewhat complex than the Maxwell's bridge, as well as it is the equation also becomes little bit complex, but they are easily solvable also. Now because of the above mentioned disadvantages, Maxwell's inductance capacitance bridge is used in the circuit, and therefore the Anderson's bridge also can be used here. If you don't want these particular disadvantages, then we are having the Maxwell's inductance bridge. Anyhow, the advantages are more where the accurate values can be get by the Anderson's bridge. Why? Because in the measurement we need the accurate values. So students, we have seen here about the Anderson's bridge, Maxwell's inductance capacitance bridge, and till now we have seen how the bridges can be solved. That first we have to write the balance condition of the bridge, and therefore after getting the balance condition, depending upon the bridge configuration, we have to change the particular that is the terminology that is used here, or the methodology that is used to solve the equations. So we are solving the equations will be we will be having the knowledge about how to replace the series and parallel connections, and also we will having the knowledge about how to see that the series current are same and parallel currents will be differing, and therefore by solving these equations we get the proper value of inductance and capacitance whichever desired for us. And in this Anderson bridge we have found out the unknown inductance with higher accuracy than Maxwell's bridge. So thank you students. I will be taking the next class, and in the next class we will be dealing about the other types of bridges. Okay, till then, thank you.